Okay, class. So here we are back with another lecture, and this again is very important from the paper point of view. And before we proceed, you have to keep one thing in your mind that we used to say that, okay, fine, we have got these living organisms with us, and these living organisms they cannot be understood until or unless we were to look on their basic unit. And that basic unit we have looked so far, so this was cell with us. And in today's class, we have to crack that we would begin from the simple unit cell, and then from that cell, we would be making this complex living organism out of it. So the topic entitled is the organization of the body. And by the organization of the body, what we mean is that how come the cells that we have in the body they would combine to be making the tissues that we will have they're gonna be make the organs, and these organs at the end they would make the organ systems, and when we would combine the organ system so they would make a complex human body. So let us just try to see that what kind of the basic flow chart we have got for this. So if I were to take the similar cells in my body, and these similar cells, when they will group together, so they would make one particular tissue, and our tissue would have one special role. And when we would combine different tissues, all those different tissues, they would combine together and they would make one organ, and that one organ would have one specific function. Likewise, we would take different organs, and these different organs, when they would combine together, so we would end up making an organ system. The organ system would have different organs in it, but they would be performing one particular, one special role. And when multiple organ system and they would combine with one another, so we will make an organism out of it. If I were to quote you example out of it, so here you see in the diagram, I have got this one cell, and this cell is the epithelial cell at the moment, and the role of the epithelial cell is that this would provide the protection to the inner linings of your organs that you have got. And if I were to combine these epithelial cells together, so that would make an epithelial, we would make an epithelial tissue out of it. And that epithelial tissue would have the same role as of an individual cell, that it would be providing the protection to the inner lining of the organs that you have in your body. So for the tissue, you must know that whenever we would have similar cells, and when these similar cells, when they would combine together, so they would make a tissue, and that tissue would be performing a specific role. If I were to show you the other examples out of it, so here I have this one cell, and this one cell is a muscle cell, and the role of the muscle cell is in terms of contractions and relaxations. Likewise, if I would sum up or I would combine multiple muscle cells, so they would make multiple tissues, they would make the muscle tissue, and that muscle tissue again has got the same role of as contracting and relaxing. Likewise, if I were to say another, you could say cell that we have in our body. So this is a glandular cell. And as far as a glandular cell is concerned, so whenever the word glandular comes, so you have to keep one thing in your mind that this is gonna produce some secretion out of it. That secretion mostly is juice with us, and in this scenario you just feel like I have got this glandular cell, and this glandular cell is producing the digestive juices out of it, and those digestive juices they would have some enzymes that would break down the complex food substances or the molecules into the simple ones. Now I am combining these glandular cells together, and when they would be combined, so ultimately we would end up making the glandular tissue, and the role of the glandular tissue would be specific, and that would be in terms of producing the digestive juices or the gastric juices out of it. Likewise, we have seen in case of the specialized cells that we have got in the human body. So over there we have discussed this nerve cell, that as far as this one particular nerve cell is concerned, so this would be carrying the information in the body in the form of an electrical impulse. So when I would combine these similar nervous cells or the nerve cells together, so we would make up a nerve tissue out of it. And the role of the nerve tissue again would be the same, that it would be carrying the information around the body. Now we are gonna shuffle toward a different thing, that I have got so many of the tissues, like the epithelial tissue was providing the protection to the body. When I was talking about the glandular tissue, this would be producing some gastric juices. I have got this muscle tissue. This would be doing the contraction and relaxations. And when I would have this nerve tissue, so it would be carrying the information between the different body parts. Now, when we have combined all of these tissues together, so here we have formed one organ out of it, and that organ which is shown at the moment, so this is stomach. So stomach has got one particular role, and that particular role is to be doing the digestion of the food. And we will see in the nutrition in the human chapter that in the stomach we break down the complex food substances that is a protein with us, and that protein would be broken down into the polypeptide chain. Now, if we were to say that how come these different tissues, when they are making the stomach organ, so they would be contributing to the role, you see that we have got the epithelial tissues on the lower side where they would be providing the protection. I would have the glandular tissue that comparative to the epithelial tissue has a different role of producing the digestive juices. It will have the muscle tissues in it because that would churn the food. That would kind of mix up the food with the digestive juices so that the digestion that we are doing inside of the stomach, this becomes effective. And as far as this nerve tissue is concerned, so you see that when our stomach is empty, so we feel some kind of a sound being produced, or we see a kind of contractions going on in our stomach that is going to tell us that, okay, fine, now you're hungry and you have to eat something up. So you see that these tissues, when I have combined together, so we have made a stomach out of it. So stomach is organ, and how this is formed when different tissues they would combine together, and the stomach has got one particular role, and that is in term of digestion. Okay. Now, if I were to be combining different organs together, and when these different organs, in terms of the structure which they have, they're gonna appear differently, but they would make some spatial organ system out of it, and that spatial organ again would have one particular role. Like if I were to quote you an example of the digestive system that we human have in our body, so it would have the mouth, there is gonna come the pharynx, and it would be esophagus, the stomach, and then in the small intestine we have this duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, and in terms of the large intestine again we have got cecum, colon, and rectum. And at the end, where the alimentary canal is going to terminate, so there would be opening of it and it would make up the anus. If I were to show you the diagram, so you see that here what we have got is the mouth, and here comes the pharynx, and then the tubulated structure that we have here. So this is the esophagus. And here we have got this thing, and this is the stomach, and after the stomach we have got these small intestines, and then here would be the large intestine. These large intestine they would eliminate or they would end up at an opening that we have got to the terminal end of the alimentary canal, and we are referring to this as an anus. Okay, so you see that each of the mouth and the pharynx and the esophagus and the stomach, they are a different organ. They are made up of different tissues. But overall, they have got one special role to be accomplished in our body, and that would be in terms of digesting the food up. So likewise, we have got different systems in our body. Like at the moment, I have given you the example of the digestive system. So along with the digestive system, like we have got this respiratory system having the nose and the nasal cavity on the inside, the pharynx, larynx, trachea, that we have here, and then ultimately we would have the bronchus and the bronchioles and the alveoli. So you see that this respiratory system comprises of many different organs, but they have one particular role, and that particular role is to be taking in the oxygen gas and to be taking out the carbon dioxide gas out of the body. If we were to go further, so we have got this cardiovascular system, the heart and the blood vessels, and they have got the role of transporting the materials from one part of the body to the other part of the body. Nervous system overall would have different organs in it. Okay, and they would have one role to be communicate to be bringing about the communication even within the body and between the body and the external environment. Likewise, we have this integumentary system and we have got these reproductive system. And if I were to show you this excretory system at the point, so here you see we have these bean-shaped organs, they are the kidneys. Then we have a tubulated structures, now they are the ureters. And here we have got a different organ in the excretory system that is a urinary bladder, and where the excretory system is terminating. So we have this urethra with us. So overall, you see again different organs and they are making one particular system, and that is excretory system, whose role is to be removing the waste materials out of body. And in our body, like we have got these so many of the systems, where each of the system that we have, so this is performing a different role. So when they would combine together, so we will make a complex organism out of it. So you see that this is how our body is organized. We have started from the cell and we have formed the tissues, and the different tissues they have formed an organ, different organs they have formed an organ system, And when multiple organ systems would combine, so they have made this complex organism that we are now. So see you guys in the next class where we would look on toward the new chapter, and that is the movement of substances entitled diffusion, osmosis, and active transport.